Okay, so welcome everybody to this event on AI in African higher education, impact, challenges and prospects, presented by Professor Moustapha Diack from the Southern University System in the USA. He is also a social entrepreneur. He has been involved in research in many different fields over the last several years, including interactive multimedia learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and cognitive science. He's very interested in issues of inclusion and designing virtual learning environments that facilitate individualized instruction, academic success, and college affordability. He also has a long and illustrious record of past and current work in relation to online learning design and open educational resources and open educational practices. If I was to go through his full bio and explain it all in detail, we wouldn't really have time for the presentation. And yes, I think it's very important what Irene has said in the chat about this being the first in a series of events in Emerge Africa about AI in African higher education. So without any further delay, I'm very happy to hand the mic over to Professor Moustapha Diack.
Well, thank you so much, my dear friend, Tony Kerr. And Tony, I don't know how long you and I have known each other, but of course, we don't want to get into that because the audience may think that we are very, very old. But I can tell that we have been in the arena of online education and educational technology for a while now. Can go probably counting maybe 25 years and more. And I really wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge really the work that had been, quite frankly, done by Emerge Africa, really to be able to support our community in developing really skills, you know, to support our students. I've joined the network, I think, since the beginning, and at everything that we had, any kind of event, I have been always trying from my home here in Louisiana, where I invite actually everybody to really come and support the initiative. So I want to really to thank Tony, and today we have Jacob Tedderson, who's also from you know, Emerge Africa, really to host this event. Now I do think that the subject is, quite frankly, very, very appealing, because for everybody who's really involved right now in you know, educational technology, you all know that we are really getting into a period of disruptive technology, because that's what AI is. I'm getting really to know some folks right now, come like Bill Gates, who's now comparing really, you know, this innovation, this disruption to the era of really the discovery of electricity. Some other people are just, you know, mentioning the internet, you know, deployment as really equivalent in terms of disruption. But anyway, and in this webinar, after I met with Tony Kerr for this last week, we've been exchanging a lot and discussing about the possibility of really bringing a community of AI for Africa, because regardless of whatever the implementation of this technology is, we as Africans have to really understand that really cultural differences is something that's going to be making really a huge difference on all this. We have collectively to start thinking about possibility of integrating this, you know, according to our own communities, according to our own needs, you know, according to our own culture. So it's going to be different as we move with AI, and mainly when we start focusing on really pedagogy. So that's why I listed really some goal of the webinar, which the first one is to explore the different approaches of implementing AI in an African context. And for the rest really of the presentation, I've tried really to focus on, Africa, the most that I can, and to really, navigate a little bit the AI environment so that I can just prompt some questions really to be able to discuss what's going to be the next step for our community. And really by doing this, I think I was quite frankly hopeful to be able to run 31 slides. Even if we cannot do this, it is going to be essential really, Tony, or really Jacob, to let me know about the time, because it would be great if we can at least allocate 20 minutes so that we can get our community to interact with us and to raise questions and to see how we can move from here. But really talking about this, I think in terms of term, I mean the definition of artificial intelligence, I think everybody quite frankly know what the term is and all the implication. The transformation that we're seeing in terms of natural language processing, which is just a subset of AI that focus on machine, understanding of human language. We have a huge, really, development in terms of innovation and in terms of research in that arena. But when it comes to large language models, like for instance, ChatGPT that can generate human-like text based on the data they have been trained on, are really some kind of really development that's coming really to us very, very fast, really, and bringing some level of disruption when it comes to really technology integration. Now, which company are, pioneering these large language model space? I mean, everybody know about OpenAI, which seems to be one of the leading company, but you have Google with, the BART model. You have Turing NLG from Microsoft. IBM has been there mainly when it comes to really creating chatbot for business with a focus on customer service. Hugging Face, for instance, which is an open, source platform for natural language processing tasks. So these are just, some example. I had to pick and choose it. So many initiatives and new companies, even in Africa, really emerging in this space that I think I really need to share later on, on that. And looking at really some historical, pinpointing starting from 2011 with IBM Watson, that been Jeopardy, and the rise in interest in AI. I mean, I am sure if you get to the research literature, you can pinpoint even to some research that was pointing to really the development right now of AI. How can we get machine to be intelligent, really, quote unquote, had been there really for a while. But in terms of transformation, really in 2018 with the transformer architectures, this was really the main foundation for current LLMs. And of course, we have in 2020 the launching of GPT-3 by OpenAI, which brings some advanced conversation of AI. Now, really, as I said earlier, this become really a really disruptive technology that us, African, we have to start really paying attention to, and being part of really the development of things. And I'm just putting this really for us to see how seriously, LLM like ChatGPT compared to some other app like, TikTok and Instagram. Because if we look at really the path to 100 million users, it took really ChatGPT around, that's less than 2 months actually, and compare with the other application that we know here, and the time it took really for the momentum to reach around 100 million. So that's really something that is very, very significant. Now, if we look at, I want just to look at maybe the model layers, just talking a little bit about, there's something that happened here. Let me see, I think, I'm gonna get back to the presentation, but just talking about the model layer and looking at the different application of these technologies, really, when it comes to, for instance, text, used for marketing, sales, support, general writing, note-taking. There are many, many applications on that. Even in the arena of coding, the code generation, documentation, and the web application builders, because it make it easier to build applications, really. In terms of really image generation, you have a lot of things going on with OpenAI, for instance, Dale E2, stable diffusion right now, which is being used in the arena of the arts, voice synthesis, applications. You have video editing generation, where you can get now to use really some tools to be able to generate, for instance, YouTube channels, in a way that is extremely surprising. The 3D modeling scene is just evolving, even for creating some movies. I've been working lately with some movie producers in Senegal, where we're developing already some kind of really, tools or resources for education in that arena. So the applications are really, quite frankly, huge at this point. Now, what is the potential of AI technology in transforming sectors in Africa? I mean, there are different sectors right now, really, where we have, many potential to aid the growth of African economies and alter the social and cultural fabric of our continent. I mean, in education, in business, enhancing productivity, improving healthcare, in the arena of legal and judicial services, in the arena of transportation. And here I would even share some application right now going on, really, in Africa right now, some project going on. Of course, we're going to be focusing on education, fostering, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, that we call JEDI, through personalized learning, curriculum diversification, equal access to quality education. In that arena, there's really a lot of things that's going on. And what we're hoping is that through Emerge Africa, that education component there, that's where we're thinking that we can contribute by building really community of practices, really to be able to focus in that arena. Excuse me.
Moustapha, apologies for interrupting.
Yeah.
Can you reshare your screen?
Oh, I am not sharing the screen now?
Not currently.
Oh, okay, well.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, let me share again.
Okay.
Okay. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, if you can put it on full screen mode or slide share mode,
okay,
that'd be good.
Let me put it back to slideshow mode.
Thank you. That's great.
And I think then the people did not see then this slide that they missed earlier, where I was talking about the potential of AI technology. This is where I was before, really, and mentioning that in the case of education, really, where fostering justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, which is JEDI, through personalized learning and curriculum diversification and providing access to education, is really a field that as far as we are concerned, with the emerged community. That is really an arena that we hope to build really community of practice, really to see how we can contribute really in bringing these kind of disruptive technology back home. So if I go back, and what are the key needs and priority in AI governance and application in Africa? I mean, there's obviously issues of policy initiative for AI governance, and that needs really some strengthening. I know that globally, if I look at in the United States, in Canada, the European Union, right now, UNESCO also is supporting this kind of initiative somehow. And I see that even in Africa, because I do know that in Senegal, we have a conference that we hosting on October 12 to 14. There are some other initiatives that start really this kind of discussion for AI governance and the need for enhancing capacity for AI governance. That's really recognized. And AI priority for countries in Africa, that can vary, but offer an opportunity for cooperation. I do know that if I look at really the African framework right now, South Africa is just moving toward that. You have countries like Kenya, she's doing really very interesting things, and Ghana, that are doing things. But here, for the sake of this presentation, leveraging AI for economic growth, development, and digital transformation, updating education skill and training systems, and facilitating AI research and development as far as our community is concerned. Again, these are really some fields that we're going to be definitely interested in building really community. Now, ethical biases and cultural sensitivity in AI, you have some critical area, right? Everybody know that these are environments where we're still dealing with addressing racial biases, really with the LLMs model, regardless of the model actually, and ethical consideration in prompt engineering, because I'm going to touch on that really, that it is important to design prompts that are ethical and do not lead to harmful or misleading outcome. The cultural sensitivity, which is getting taken back home, that's really extremely important as well, and we need really to pay attention to that as well. Now, and looking at the private sector contributing to the growth and diversity of AI in Africa, you have a lot of sectors now investing in both financially and human resources to include diversity, strengthening AI research in Africa and developing solutions that meet Africa's challenges. I've been involved with a lot of groups here, like for instance, I'm sure everybody is aware, or if you are not, it is quite important really to look at the work by Google to establish its first African AI research hub in Accra, Ghana in 2019. And Google is really committed to collaborating with local universities and research centers. Talking about Tony Care as well, we were discussing about inviting one of my really very, very good friend, Diack, really, who's leading that Google initiative in Accra. Hopefully, in our webinar series, we're going to be able to invite him really to talk to us. IBM, Institut Tunisia, which is an African organization, is doing very, very well. GeoGecko in Uganda as well is really doing some kind of primary work in that field. And if you look at application in the private sector right now, you have different applications. That's why in the arena of health, and these are very, very significant, in terms of health, like for instance, initiatives such as, SophiBot, automated malaria diagnosis, number boosts and vital signs, all that in the health system, run in Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, and Kenya. if we look at really in agriculture with Vital Sign, Arifu, and Farm Drive, you know, so all these really are some initiatives that are really going on in Africa with fintech and transportation. So you don't have to note here, because I'm going to be sharing this slide so that you can really maybe learn a little bit more about really the different initiatives. Now, moving away from traditional teaching and learning practices, we have been really in the online learning arena for a long time. And it is quite frankly important for us to understand that pedagogical integration of this tool going to be extremely important for us. And that's going to be at different level. For instance, you know, as a senior instructional designer, I know that learning design going to be one of the key, and that's going to be extremely transformative. As we speak right now, I'm developing with Tony Kerr 2 courses. One of them is really the use of AI for learning design, for instance. You know, we are preparing some course there that's going to be maybe available to us. In the methods of delivery, the student engagement, how we going to be assessing learning. We got to just be ready to move away from traditional teaching and learning practices and really to get ready really to engage on different way of looking at things. How can AI technology help to deliver the promises of e-learning or digital education? We have had many promises, and we failed definitely to deliver on these, you know, promises really. And like, for instance, individualized learning. How can I make sure that if I have a classroom of, for instance, 50% attending, to be able to really attend to every student through individualized learning and adaptive learning pathway, that student gonna just, you know, be successful in that class, regardless of the issue of disabilities. Gonna be some kind of things that we're gonna be really, you know, looking at here in terms of promises. Your AI-based tutoring and coaching systems. How can I build some system in which I'm going to be embedding AI-based tutoring? I have been working on some project like this as we speak right now in America, where the learning environment, we embed some AI-based tutoring that's going to be supporting the student through the learning process. I spoke about really the assessment and the feedback process that we're going to be needing to do something at that level. But what are the key challenges and policy implications of introducing AI in education? I mean, I think I have, you know, touched already on all these items really here, but mainly if I look at item number 5, enhancing research on AI in education, this is definitely something that we hope really to engage with our institution, really to collecting use cases, because that's where we are at this really at this point. So this is really, this is critical. But the problem that we have, and even now, you won't believe it, even in the United States, I'm just sharing here really a survey that was run by Clemson's Harvard in 2023, and looking at really the challenges for early adopters of this technology. If you look at this graph, pretty much 70%, you know, of the faculty that was polled in this research had really some kind of negative view of integrating AI in, you know, in academia, really. Of course, the STEM faculty report greater optimism for AI in higher education, but that tells you really where we are. It is going to be critical for us to understand as well our community, you know. Tony and Emerge Africa and myself, we're preparing for instance some kind of survey to be able to replicate really the Crimson study, to see really in our community, you know, what are the beliefs at this point. I'm running, as we speak, some study like that for historically Black colleges and universities in the United States. Remember, we have 105 universities in the US, and trying really to understand this. Now, This is really something that I would like, if there is something that we need to retain or remember from this webinar, that is the importance of what is called really prompt engineering, and how the principle of garbage in and garbage out apply to the use of AI in education. Regardless of the LLM that you're going to be using, you know, AI system like Chat GPT, for instance, you know, are likened to really a digital parrot. They can output what they are trained on quality of input. That's what we call the prompt. That's going to be determining really the output that you're going to be receiving on at that level. Prompt engineering for me is really the essential knowledge skills that everybody needs to take home. And as I was telling about the course, we have also 2 courses, introductory to prompt engineering, that we're going to be making available through Emerge Africa, and an advanced course really to help our practitioners to be able to query these machines so that you can get really information that you need, and so that we're going to be able really to contextualize. This is extremely important, really. When we talk about AI, just remember prompt engineering is really the key things, really. Now, cultivating the skill of asking better questions for effective AI engagement, all these gonna take home also the importance of, you know, prompt engineering that we talked about, or also. And here there is a term that is used right now in the arena of AI that is called AI hallucinations, because this machine hallucinates. Hallucination means that sometimes they can just really invent fake news and fake information, you know, depending on the kind of query. So depending on the prompt, you know, that you're going to be asking to this machine. So these are really critical. And in my opinion, in embedding all this, we need to pay attention also really to learning theories, because the learning theories that we know in education, you know, we should carry those in the arena really of AI, really transformation. Those are really important. Now, I was indicating earlier the need for use case research in AI classroom and implementation. Here are some use cases, for instance, using AI as a mentor, you know, using AI as a teacher. I am working right now very close with the Khan Academy in the United States. They have launched really a teacher that's really exceptional in that arena. You can use AI as a coach, you know, as a teammate, you know, even student that really collaborate with another student in that environment using AI. It can use as a simulator, you know, and use as a tool to accomplish, for instance, different tasks. All these cases are being really applied right now in terms of research. I do know that with my research at Southern University, I have already some students looking at some of these arena really at this point. Why not our community with Emerge Africa, for some of our institution to be involved with those? Empowering students with active learning strategies through AI, that's really critical at this point in different dimensions, like monitoring self-learning to foster metacognitive skill, you know, that teach students to think about their own thinking, which is critical for lifelong learning. Active feedback seekers, collaborative learning, for instance, to build soft skills like team working, critical analysis, human AI collaboration, really to instill a mindset of questioning and validating knowledge. All these are really arena of use cases for research and implementation that you can find really application when it comes to really to this kind of technology. And if you look at as well, you know, judgment skill through AI feedback. How can AI feedback serve as tool to enhance student critical thinking and judgment skill. There are really some kind of approaches that we need to, pay attention to when we integrate really this kind of dimension really that can, engage our student in building those kind of critical thinking skill and, using AI as support tools in their teaching and learning, in this arena. Those are extremely critical as well. Now, I was just adding here some other arena here of research that could deal with critical and iterative learning, co-creating knowledges, and reframing AI from product producer to dialogue partners. It's not about just being in terms of Gen AI models, really asking questions and getting results. No, we gotta really get beyond that to be able really to create knowledge ourselves. Those are some way of thinking as far as AI research is concerned. And I think I talk about this, don't ban the technology. And mindful integration in the classroom is extremely important at this point. We have to understand that when we started, really, if you recall, and I think everybody can, with the value of the internet, with the value of the mobile phone, our main preoccupation at that time was, this is going to promote teaching in the cheating in the classroom. We were banning, for instance, even those level of technology in the classroom. Our mindset is really something that we need really, make a change, because this is here to stay. Our students gonna be using it. We better really adopt to the technology at the onset and thinking about the best way to integrating it. I think that's going to be really something that is really critical for us, really developing metacognitive skill, experiment and don't ban, prohibition, stifle growth. More you ask students not to use it, more they're going to be using it, and they're using it already, So I really do think that really encouraging our educators, whatever your institution it is in Africa, to experiment with AI technology to better understand the pedagogical values and limitations is really critical. That is something that we really must do. Don't ban it. Just please don't ban it. Now, talking about that, I mean, we are really shifting in integrating AI. You have now something that is called really, artificial intelligence, versus, intelligence augmentation. We are really reframing the debate at this point. Instead of thinking of a technology which is going to push to a transformation where, people are going to be losing their job, their position, we want to shift it in such a way that how can we use this really to augment what we are already doing, really. So there's a lot of things going on in terms of, intelligence augmentation and how, all this can be transformative, and AI plays technology at the core, and IA plays human at the core, because having the technology of AI is one thing, but that technology seriously has some limitation that human has. How can we bring the human component to that, really? The passion, for instance, the caring of a human, that a machine will never going to be able to replicate that. IA is really looking at that kind of dimension, really. And some people are trying really to implement really this view. Like, for instance, we have already something, the National Institute for Adult Learning and Online Education in the United States, which is funded by, the National Science Foundation, which is really looking at models where we, include in that AI environment the theory of human cognition and learning, and the constraints of affordance and online learning environment, integrating it, in the process of teaching, and using in those environments the AI-powered, cognitive assistant for teaching, learning, and social interactions. This is really a research center I am now affiliated with in the United States, and they are really bringing some kind of transformative work. Applications, I told you already, after this meeting, you just got to search something that is called Can Amigo. Everybody know about, the Khan Academy for the STEM education. They use really some futuristic educational assistant. I have one of my son, for instance, in Africa, that, and he is really in elementary school. I have created an account really in the Khan Academy for him to be able really to use the Khan Academy, virtual assistant. But, my name is El Kadir. This summer, I was part of the Khan Academy and learned a lot about STEM education. It was very, 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 very transformative. And he lives now in Dakar, Senegal. This is really a model just where we inputting IA, to support stuff. And to close all this though, because I think I want to just to leave some time, I have some resource here, Element AI. That's a series of free online courses about the fundamental of AI and how to build AI system. I am really advising everybody, for instance, not only to gain access, but you can use already share with your educational systems, really, to get them, for instance, to understand what AI is about, and AI in problem solving, real world AI. I think Element AI here, they did really a great job, and this is really a great resource that I wanted really to share. The MIT also has something that is called the AI literacy unit, and raise responsible AI for social empowerment and education, craft classroom ready resources about AI for teaching. We have to understand that seriously, developing an AI literacy course, we are working on that as well. That is something that's going to be definitely needed for, your educational community, The student that you're going to be engaging in your university, it is important proactively to make sure that they are AI literate, where they learn, the application of all this. Like I can tell you that this semester, I am, as part of my teaching load at Southern University, I'm teaching a doctoral course where it is called Technology in STEM Education. And these are really using AI in a use case to get my student at the end of the class really to be able to publish a peer-reviewed paper to a journal, to an open journal, an open journal which is already accommodating, AI-supported publications, really. It's definitely amazing. The student, I engage them in bringing their idea, in writing, for instance, the paper and outlining it. And from there, we bring AI really as peer reviewer and as peer who's going to assist the student through all the process of writing, for instance, a research paper, and helping the student really to get to the final product. Obviously, getting the AI to generate the original ideas is something that probably, as far as my integration of AI, I would not do at this point, and all this gonna evolve. But getting the student to bring their original idea and giving them really a research partner that would enable them to peer review their paper, look at really the publication norm of a given journal, and really finalizing with the paper. Those are something that's going to be shared, I am sure, in the near future. But this is, I think, all that I have, and the takeaway here that was really focusing on understanding AI's limitation, demystifying AI, and process of a product is quite frankly important. The learner agency, the skills AI can't replicate. That's why we talk about IA, the human AI partnership, really to create knowledge. Those are the things that I wanted really to share with you today. And I really wanted really to close this to again thank personally Tony Care, because Tony and I have been having numerous meetings, and you know how Tony is aggressive when he want to get something for Emerge Africa, to make at least launch this first webinar. Our idea is to have a follow-up webinars on AI. We're going to be inviting some people to come and join us in this kind of really building capacity for Emerge. I think I asked already about the possibility of next step of building a community. Now, being something really at the frontier of educational technology and pedagogy, when you look at really the environment seriously of conferences that are taking place in Africa, definitely the conference that is really missing there, that is a conference, for instance, that could focus on, the pedagogy. How can we use AI in the classroom? Tony and I are really anticipating the possibility, not only building that community, but having really a conference or a summit that's going to be focusing on that. So I wanted to thank everybody. I think we have around 12 minutes left, and I'm just going to hand it back to Tony and Jacob. And thank you so much, everybody. This is really a privilege. Having an opportunity to be an African who have lived in the United States since 1990. That's going to be now more than 33 years. And, being thankful to God to have given me the opportunity to always connect with my community. That means you is something I've been extremely thankful. Thank you so much. And I am looking forward to partnership with your institution. If you need me for any other capacity, I'm available. Thank you so much, Tony, for the invitation. And thank you, Jacob. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Moustapha Diack, for an action-packed and rich presentation, which I think will provide us with ideas, networks, contacts, and a sense of opportunity, which could take us a little while to work through. There is so much there. And also, just to say, at the end, we'll talk about the follow-up seminars happening the next 2 weeks. And there are some questions and contributions and insights in the chat. We have a question from Olufemi Olubodon, who is saying, actually, I know that AI will lead to some job loss, but what is your opinion on human online instructors for university programs losing out in the context for online tutoring with AI-powered tutoring?
Yeah, and well, losing job in the future, it is a little bit, quite frankly, difficult to predict. It's possible, but you're going to have some new jobs that's going to be happening here. I was telling my daughters, who's now working with IBM, and I was really trying to get her to get a little bit involved with AI, because I have new jobs around, for instance, really prompt engineering that is paying you $300,000 really a year. So we may be losing some, but we're going to be expecting new jobs, really dealing with some other dimension of, this transformative and this disruptive technology. And trust me, that is going to touch everything that we know of, basically, really. Now, when it comes to the instructional design and the tutoring, I think that would be probably a good idea if you had a chance. I just shared earlier the Khan Academy and Khan Migo. When you go in there, you understand a little bit that if you have, for instance, some AI environment that has been trained with billions and billions of data points. If I just take the terms of math, you know, the teacher that have been embedded into Khan Amigo, I can tell you that is really an expert, for instance, in the field of math in terms of knowledge. The knowledge, in my opinion, surpassed a little bit more really the knowledge of really a normal, basically teacher. So it's going to help really the student. And the dream here, seriously, is having a classroom where you get to a point where you know at the end of the class, really, you leaving some student behind. Giving them this environment in such a way that you're not leaving anybody behind really is really an ethical problem with Jedi that would enable you really to solve in here. There's a lot of research going on. And there's a lot of research I can even share as we speak right now on development in that arena. But I think that was really an excellent question. Losing job, yes. Gaining more job, you know, new jobs, yes.
Thank you for the answer. And we have Eunice Ivala who has her hand up. Eunice, please take the mic and ask your question.
Thank you, Tony, and good afternoon, colleagues. Mine are comments, and one is to do with the issue of automation and losing of jobs of some of our academics. I don't look at it like people should lose jobs. That's where, when we come to policies in the university, for example, some universities have got policies where they don't allow staff members they don't fund staff members to do parallel degrees. If you already have a master's, they don't fund you for that. And I think as a sector, we need now, that needs to be revisited, because with IE taking over some of the jobs, people will be expected to take a master's to adapt to the changing skills needed in the academy. The other thing, and I think Moustapha can come in, is to do with assessments and the fear that, and it's not a fear, students are really using the artificial intelligence for assignments, and they are not using it well. We need to guide them. And the other thing is that a lot of also researchers are using those tools to publish. And I just had, I've been reading a lot on it, and I saw China, which is really pioneering in the development of these LLMs models, that they've already started revoking degrees from some degrees from 2013, where students have used the IE extensively. And my question is, how do the governments have to come up with statements and on how these tools should be used, because in the future we are going to see a scenario where degrees are being revoked because students are actually not writing the theses or are not being guided on how to use the tools properly, but are producing exactly stuff based on the models. And the same with the especially for South Africa, we're gonna see a scenario where the DHET will fail to give subsidy to some of the work articles generated with the IE.
Eunice, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, you're actually looking a few steps down the road to a potential nightmare scenario where if we don't learn how to use these things well and ethically, then we're there could be problems at institutional and policy level. Moustapha, do you have any comment on that?
Oh, I think you nailed it already, Tony, because I think you answered totally to Eunice Iwala question, and I think I agree with the question she rose, and I think you answered it correctly, exactly, seriously, you know. That's something that we need. Definitely policy is going to be seriously something that at the national level, you know, we need to really to engage, you know, our people to do it. But before we get to that point, really, us as educators and researchers, we need to understand better, really, all the implications, really. That's why we need more research in this arena, really.
You should switch to 1-800-CONTACTS because
it's super easy, so cheap. I save shipping costs. I save doctor office visit fees.
It was cheaper on 1-800-CONTACTS than actually going to the eye doctor.
1-800-CONTACTS always has my exact same brand in stock.
And then they deliver it right to your door.
Why would you not have your contacts delivered?
It's the future. It's amazing.
1-800-CONTACTS gives us really fast shipping. And
I don't think it ever takes 5 days.
Not even.
It's shipped to you super quick and easy.